rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, welcome back to Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force. Glad you can be with us, and you're going to be glad that you're with us this week. What a fun show we have for you. Coming up in the program, we're going to be checking in with Michael Havens. He is he's the guy behind the ICCC Con. Coming up in Nashville at the end of April. Rebel Force Radio going to be there. Our very first convention appearance since March of 2020. Also coming up on the show, something that you may have been thinking was around the corner, but you were probably not sure. But yeah, we got him. We got John Marcoux, who is coming back. He is the Rebel Force Radio. He's the Jedi Yogi, and he's going to be talking about the mythological blueprint of, you guessed it, Boba Fett. Yeah, after Solo, after Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, Mando, Clone Wars, the Mortis trilogy, he's back, and he's going to be talking about the mythological blueprint of Boba Fett. Did you ever think that we would be sitting around talking about the hero's journey of Boba Fett? Yeah, if you were a true believer, maybe you thought so. But that's just scratching the surface, plus a few announcements. We got some congratulations. We've got some RIP. We got it all here at Rebel Force Radio. And if you're new to the program, welcome. We're so glad to have you with us. My name is Jason, and with me, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Welcome back to another week of Rebel Force Radio. And naturally, as we are in the wake of the Book of Boba Fett, we want to continue our breakdown and analysis of that series. And so who better than to have the Jedi Yogi, John Marcoux himself, with us to provide his trademarked mythological blueprints. And John has been working really hard on this series and gathering notes and researching tomes and all kind of interesting work there to provide us with analysis you won't hear anywhere else. That's what John Marcoux brings.
That's right. Where else are you going to get the hero's journey mapped out for you of Boba Fett? You know, we've got a lot of people are talking about Book of Boba Fett, but I don't think anyone's going to be having this take on it. So that's why you listen to us here at Rebel Force Radio. And we have great guests like John Marcoux. Jim, a couple of things before we get into the meat and potatoes. I want to mention this week, unfortunately, the Star Wars community and really the entertainment community at large suffered a loss with the passing of Alan Ladd Jr. Alan Ladd Jr., a giant in the film business, and many say that it's possible there would be no Star Wars if it wasn't for Alan Ladd, because he was the guy at Fox. He was the head of the films division in the late 1970s that went to the president, the CEO of Fox at the time, Gordon Stolberg. Gordy. He was probably one of those guys that was called Gordy, I'm imagining. Yeah. So I went to Gordy, and he really advocated for George, but probably more importantly, he was the guy that was sort of running interference for George as budgets were kind of exploding and the timeline and the schedule was getting difficult. I think he was the guy that was, really kind of keeping things in check with the studio. So yeah, Alan Ladd, hugely instrumental in Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. He was the producer of Braveheart. You go on his IMDb or Wikipedia, I mean, just about any big movie between the late 70s and into the 90s, this guy was, partially responsible for. So a giant in Star Wars and in film for sure.
Oh, absolutely, Jason. One of the most respected film executives of all time, really. And it's very true. Star Wars would have never happened without Mr. Ladd and his influence. He gave the film the green light. He went in front of the board of directors many times to get them to chill as George was running way over budget and was asking for more money, and the film was in peril. But Alan Ladd Jr. really liked George Lucas's work on THX 1138 and believed in the young director. And that was at a time when film studios were really leaning on youth, really for the first time in the history of film. There was a youth movement going on in the late 60s throughout the 70s as film studio heads were looking to tap into the youth revolution of the time.
Right. And it was also the first time where these kids were actually coming out of formal education around. There were film schools finally. So this wasn't just, something that you just picked up as you went along. There was formal education with it. And they saw this as a real mining field for talent.
And yes, absolutely. While George was working on Star Wars, American Graffiti came out. And that really helped seal George's reputation. But still, he was under a lot of scrutiny by the board at 20th Century Fox. And almost to the point where Star Wars ran into jeopardy of even being made many times. And it was Alan Ladd Jr. who not only greenlit the film, but protected the film and got it some extra money when it really needed it to complete all of those revolutionary special effects shots that had such an impact on the industry on a whole, an impact that can still be felt to this very day. All of that was in jeopardy. And it took some really smooth talking by Alan Ladd Jr. to make it all happen behind the scenes.
When you hear George in interviews, he calls him Laddie. He refers to him as Laddie. Seems like a term of endearment. And, we all know the story about George being on location out in the UK or in the studio shooting Star Wars. He gets back to the United States and they're all doing slip and slides at the back, at the back of ILM. Right. They're all having a good time, if you know what I mean. And none of the shots are done, the effect shots. And George is, literally tearing his hair out, cutting locks of his hair out. He's under so much stress and pressure. And Alan Ladd, I think, was, as you mentioned, the guy that was, helping to secure that they had the money for all of that stuff. Jim, I had a question because I am under the impression, and maybe some other fans are too, was there a falling out between Alan Ladd and George Lucas? Because, Alan Ladd is instrumental with obviously the first Star Wars and then Empire Strikes Back, but you don't see his name associated with Return of the Jedi, and you don't hear George talking about Alan Ladd Jr. really post, his remarks about, or when he's talking about the first Star Wars being made.
It was a funny thing, being the victim of your own success, as it were. Alan Ladd Jr. ran into problems with that board of directors at Fox after Star Wars had become such a big success. Why? Because he let George Lucas negotiate ownership of the sequel rights and the merchandising rights. And so the board of directors made life for Alan Ladd Jr. very hard at 20th Century Fox. So in 1979, he left the company. And he created his own production company called the Ladd Company. And the Ladd Company produced big films like The Right Stuff, Chariots of Fire, and Police Academy.
What a renaissance man. I mean, that is the range is really incredible.
And then in 1985, he joined MGM, United Artists. And there were a lot of hits produced under his watch there, including the Brady Bunch movie.
Great.
Which is-
We were actually talking a little bit off air. I was saying I feel that's really one of the gold standards. It really is, as far as how to sort of pay tribute to a classic in a new way. It's like part parody. It's part reimagining or reboot. It's really well done. But the point being is this guy had his hands on so many things. So really what you're saying is that the separation was because he left 20th Century Fox, and that's where George had his distribution relationship with that studio.
Right. And there's a great documentary. If you want to hear more about George Lucas talking about Alan Ladd Jr., check out the film Laddie. It's a documentary. You can find it streaming all over the place. Rebel Force Radio actually makes an appearance in the documentary, at least vocally. The very first thing you hear at the beginning of the documentary is me and Steve Glosson talking about Big Steve talking about Alan Ladd, and that's how the whole film begins.
That's awesome. I remember that
over the title cards. There's a snippet from Rebel Force Radio. And it was an honor to be featured in that doc. Let me tell you, it really is. And so forever, when people want to hear the story about this really highly respected film executive and his story, they're going to be hearing Rebel Force Radio at the very beginning of the show.
I love it.
So I really like that a lot.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. He's also the subject of another documentary called It's Always About the Story, Conversations with Alan Ladd Jr. So prolific and so profound of an impact that he made that he's got 2 documentaries out about himself or about him. So check that out. Only one, of course, features Rebel Force Radio. And I remember that. That was very, very cool. Very cool of him to include that in there.
R.I.P. Alan Ladd Jr.
There was this whole behind-the-scenes battle going on between Laddie and the board, because at that point, the board had kind of taken over the company. Laddie had been moved up into a position, but he was basically not reporting directly to the board, and they were actually making decisions about movies. And they were giving him a bad time, and they didn't understand the movie, and they thought it was ridiculous. I mean, it was a crazy movie. Again, it's like this furry dog driving a spaceship. I mean, what is that? They had basically said, don't you dare come back here to the board and say that film is still shooting. I had a lot of problems, and I was right up against the gun. So he didn't say, look, I've got problems too. You've got to help me with my problems, and I'm sorry I have to. He just said, look, I'm invested in you. I'm not invested in the movie, and I'm trusting you to whatever you do. And so he gave me the extra money to finish the movie. So we did. We put on a whole bunch of crews. We shot real fast. We did a lot of things. It cost a lot of money. And he never really told me what was going on in those board meetings. And it was much rougher than anybody had ever said to anybody. So Laddie was really on the hot seat on that movie until the day it came out.
Now, on to some happier news. We have congratulations in order to one of our Star Wars fans' favorites is James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones has a distinct honor of having a Broadway theater named after him, the Court Theater in New York, very famous theater, has been named and will be named the James Earl Jones Theater. Now, the Court Theater has had just a plethora of famous plays, not so much a house for musicals, though Steve Martin's musical was there a couple years ago, but very, very much a place where you go see some of the best in what we call straight plays, non-musical theater in New York. But the Court Theater, now owned and controlled by the Schubert Organization, and it's being renamed for James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones got his start. The guy has been in more than 20 separate Broadway productions in his career. Wow. Which is huge to be involved in that many. That's a big number.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's a really big number because most of those we're not talking about, I was the guy, fifth in the back row in the chorus, and we're talking about, supporting at best, lead roles. So it's really huge. I mean, we know him as a TV and movie personality, and the voice of Darth Vader, of course, the voice of CNN, back in the day. But really, as far as his real contribution in terms of the volume of his work is on the stage. Brilliant stage actor. So very cool for him. We got a quote here. James Earl Jones said, "For me, standing in this very building 64 years ago at the start of my Broadway career, it would have been inconceivable that my name would be on the building today. Let my journey from then to now be an inspiration for all aspiring actors." And we're so glad that James Earl Jones is still with us these days. He's up in years, but man, the voice still resonates. And, it wasn't that long ago, Jim, that we featured, I guess it was a long time ago, but in podcast years, it wasn't that long ago. We featured James Earl Jones. I can't remember what talk show he was on. You might recall, where he was reading lyrics from a Justin Bieber song. And, you took it down into the sound labs and thought maybe we could Vaderize this. Instead of James Earl Jones reading, it's Darth Vader reading.
Yeah, back in the day, we actually had access to an app called Vaderize Yourself. You remember that?
I do. That's right.
You could talk into your phone, and it would then play back a recording of you sounding like Darth Vader with the breathing inserted into it and everything. It was a great app. I don't know whatever happened to it. I
got a copyright strike against it.
Yeah. It just disappeared. But it was a lot of fun to play with here on the show, because we discovered that you can also hold the app up to a speaker and feed any audio you want into the thing. And so we took audio of the great James Earl Jones, Darth Vader himself. Now, the guy whose name is going to be over the Court Theater on Broadway. But see, we got this piece of audio from James Earl Jones's appearance on the Gayle King show. All right,
oh my
Gayle
gosh.
King.
Yeah, Gayle. Right.
She's with CBS now.
Right.
But back in the day, I believe she had her own show. Maybe it was on CNN. I don't remember. Yeah. But James Earl Jones was on there, and for some weird reason, Gayle had James Earl Jones read Justin Bieber lyrics. That "Oh Baby Baby"
Why not?
Song. What was the name of that song he did? The baby, baby, baby. I forget what.
You're asking the wrong guy here. You'll spinning Billie Holiday and Frank Sinatra on the phone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. My playlist is typically Jim Morrison and Jerry Garcia and Jimmy Page. I don't know who this is. Justin Bieber. Are you kidding me? But here we are, Justin Bieber lyrics recited by James Earl Jones, but Vaderized for your entertainment.
Are we an item, girl? Quit playing. We're just friends. What are you saying?
Talking to Padme.
Said there's another looked right in my eyes. My first love broke my heart for the first time. And I was like, baby, 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 oh. Like baby, 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 no. Like baby, 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 oh. I thought you'd always be mine.
That's it.
Oh man.
Yeah. Now
that goes
something
way
that should
back.
be on Broadway. Yeah, you want to talk about Broadway? Put that show on Broadway.
Yeah.
And every show will be a sellout for sure.
Well, if you're heading out to New York here, it won't be long before the marquee of the Court Theater will read the James Earl Jones Theater. That's located at 138 West 48th Street between 7th and 6th Avenue in Times Square. So check it out. James Earl Jones. Congratulations to James Earl Jones. That's quite an honor. There's not a lot of those Broadway theaters, relatively speaking, and to have your name out there. It is, as he's mentioned in his quote, it is where he made his Broadway debut. So there's some definitely a reason why he's out there. But that's very cool.
From the cornfields in Iowa to Broadway in New York, you can't get away from James Earl Jones.
To a galaxy far, far away.
To a galaxy far, far away, I should say. Yeah, you're right, Jason.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh, like baby, baby, baby.
Rebel Force Radio.
Well, let's get to it. We've got, I think he's there. Is he ready? Is he in the studio? And
John Marcoux is in the studio, and he's ready to lay on
there he is.
The mythological blueprint. Is everything okay over there, Mr. Man? Did you are you busting up the studio again?
I think he's a little taken aback by hearing Darth Vader singing Justin Bieber.
Yeah. So what'd you think of that Darth Vader Justin Bieber mashup there?
Baby.
I was saying a mantra over and over. So good. So good.
You can't get enough. You can't get enough. So John Marcoux, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, he's the Jedi Yogi. We call him that because he is a yogi. Want to throw out a quick little plug for the yoga studios, John?
You know, yoga training and Jedi training, as I have said many times on this show, same thing.
Same thing, except I think you sweat a little bit more doing the yoga than you would actually training on the swamp planet of Dagobah, because I've tried it. It's 105 degrees, and it's quite a workout that you provide there at the 105F Studios here in the Chicago area. 3 locations: Wicker Park, South Loop, and what am I leaving out?
Lincoln Park,
of course. They don't allow me in Lincoln Park since that one incident in 1997. But there it is, 105F. For more information, visit 105F.com. And if you're in the Chicago area, go visit John Marcoux at 105F Studios for a stretch. Oh, is that you right there?
That is not.
Oh,
yeah,
that was going by too fast. That picture on the website, that is not you. That does not look like you.
Hot yoga, Inferno Pilates.
Do you do any of that?
Yin.
Do you do any of that pet yoga? I've seen like sheep yoga, dog yoga.
No, man.
Okay,
No,
I just like you do real yoga.
That's why. Oh, there's
is that John?
Going on.
Yeah.
Is that
That's
you?
you?
Yeah.
Get that
Look at his
out
back.
of
It's
here.
all
That's you?
ripped. Look at that guy.
Get out.
Look at him.
I don't
know.
Get that off the screen.
I don't know that I
Nobody
believe
believes me when I say Jedis and yogis are the same. Nobody believes me.
Well, what makes them the same?
The training, the physical training is intense, but only because it draws the mental in, and the mental eventually just, and the body and the mind are working together, and life is just great. Life's great.
Wow.
So those are words from the Jedi Yogi. But not only is he the Jedi Yogi, but he's an author. John has written 2 books. One book, Poised to Pummel, the illustrated story of Bruce Lee, and the latest is Emancipate Yourself. And these are great books, incredible illustrations. And John, you go out of your way sometimes to make the connections between these 2 amazing pop culture figures, historical figures, and Star Wars. And you have found similarities between the journey that Bob Marley goes on to that of Luke Skywalker, and you've considered the Jedi possibilities of Bruce Lee. And I love your approach to all of that.
I did not go out looking for it. What I was looking as I was putting together the story and the mythological blueprints of Bob Marley and the formats that work, it, as I've said also on the show many times, blown away by the similarities between Bob Marley's real life and Luke Skywalker in A New Hope.
Mm-hmm. Well,
beginning to end.
You do illustrate it in the books and give some great insight and knowledge into these 2 individuals who I know you research this stuff forever. I know this for a fact.
And because my illustrator is also such a great lover of Star Wars, he couldn't help but sneak in dozens of small, Where's Waldo kind of images throughout the book that Star Wars fans would pick up on, but otherwise you might not see.
Little Easter eggs.
Easter eggs galore.
So how do people get their hands on the books if they're looking for them?
DinnerGuestPress.com.
That's it.
The publishing company puts out books about people that you would like to have at your dream dinner, alive or dead. So this would be a dinner guest. Bob Marley and Bruce Lee are the first two invitees.
Nice. Maybe I should talk to you about doing a George Lucas one. The illustrated journey of George Lucas. We'll talk
himself
about
around a tree in a sports car, and
next thing you know, he's making cinema history and redefining the industry on a whole. But that's not what we're here to talk to you about. We want to know what you thought of the Book of Boba Fett, and we want you to break down our protagonist, BF himself, and give him the mythological blueprint treatment that you're so well known for.
Well, I like the freewheeling style and spirit you have here on Rebel Force Radio. So this is my, what did we say, sixth visit?
Yes.
Sixth visit. Yeah.
I've now got the guys on Saturday Night Live beat from the Five Club now.
Yes.
Five Timers Club.
We'll get you the smoking jacket.
Come on.
You have to survive your sixth visit, though. That's the trick.
Yeah, don't count your chickens.
It's early. So I did grab a hold of 4 or 5 beautiful mythological chunks to work with here tonight. But I also know, again, with the freewheeling style and spirit, Jason Swank, Jimmy Mack, you ask great questions on the fly, and that's when things get going. So, I'm ready.
Now we'll jump in. Don't you worry about that.
Okay.
So just take us off in whatever direction you choose. How are we going to break this down? Are we going to break this down kind of in the order in which the activities happen on the screen?
Not really. I mean, yes and no. Yeah, sure.
Now, I want to note that you are not coming into this with any sort of baggage, Boba baggage. You've never read any of the comic books or novels. You don't know how other writers have treated his story after Return of the Jedi.
Not only that, I am completely tuned out of social media. So whatever everybody's saying, I don't know. And I always worry if I'm going to come on here and everybody says, yeah, we've talked about that already. So
it doesn't matter.
I'm in a cave. I'm really in a cave on this one.
If we've talked about it before, that's fine. But we've never talked to you about it before.
Okay.
So that makes it a totally different experience every time.
Well, then let me start from the beginning of the beginning. I'm going to start from a part that preceded even the release of episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. You knew what the name was before it even came out. The Book of Boba Fett. So before you even saw frame 1, this phrase, the Book of, already like a rock with flint, started up the spark. What is the mythology? What is the mythology of anything that dares call itself the Book of? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It's very. I thought it was very biblical.
That's also the major and my first and biggest impression too. But it does have other definitions, secondary, tertiary kind of definitions that provides ambiguity. And even within the biblical meaning, there's room for ambiguity. So it's already stirring up the mythological juices before you even see it. So, for instance, he's a crime boss in this 7-episode series, and he's got a book of business, and that includes a gambling house which has a book. Have you ever heard of the Vegas book? Like, what do they put in the odds or something? The book is part of his world. And so in this connotation of the meaning of the Book of, it's about money. The book is about money. But, sometimes the book is also used idiomatically among scouts. Say Major League Baseball scouts. They want to, what's the book on this kid down at this high school? Like, well, he's got some speed, but after the 3rd inning, he starts losing control. And then when the other team scores, he's a little immature. You know what I mean? You're getting the book on the guy. What's the score on this guy? What's his medal?
Yeah.
It's a character issue.
The lowdown.
And then, of course, as you brought up immediately, Swank, it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction. There's an ancient text thing happening here.
Yes. Yeah.
For us, it's biblical, but for others, it could be another ancient book and whatever they've got going on. In the Bible, there's the Book of Enoch. A lot of people think Revelation is called the Book of Revelation, but it's just called Revelation. But the Book of is attached to it because they're both apocalyptic. It's a very intense use of the Book of, and the Tibetan Book of the Dead is actually a how-to manual for death doulas. It's written as if you're bedside helping somebody die. It's actually intended for the person who's dying, but people don't like to talk about their own deaths. So they wrote it 1,100 years ago or so about, okay, you're standing at the side of the bed and this is what's happening when somebody's dying and this is what you need to do and this is when you need to listen, et cetera, et cetera. There's a famous Bob Marley lyric, one of the most famous. I mean, Rolling Stone calls it the 66th most famous, greatest song of all time, redemption song. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book.
Yes.
Now, he was a King James Version Bible guy. You can hear it in his language. It's beautiful language. But in this song, in this lyric, and elsewhere in the lyric, it's completely ambiguous what the book is. And that's why the indigenous tribe a mile below down in the Grand Canyon, who doesn't follow the Bible, they hear it and they have their own meaning attached to it. There's monasteries that haven't allowed people in for decades and decades. And you go in there and they have bootlegged, illegal, absconded 8-track tapes of Bob Marley playing in these ancient machines. Wow. And they have headphones and they're nodding their heads going, yeah, the book. Yeah, I know that book. And they think he's like a Vishnu type figure, a great redeemer. Like, so this Book of thing, before I even saw an episode, I was like, okay, are they going to bring it on the biblical? Is this going to get apocalyptic? Is this about what's Boba Fett like? What's the book on him? What's his metal? Or is it about, this, once you saw it, it's about him taking over for the last two daimyos, which is a Japanese term, by the way, for mob boss. And it turns out to be all three. So in a sense, although I would like to see more seasons and I'd like to deliver more on the ancient text version, the big mythological meaning of that, the Book of, I think it did okay delivering on the Book of. I think it delivered on the promise of its premise.
That's all of that is amazing, and I just think that the Book of kind of is a continuation of the Mandalorian story because each episode was referred to as a chapter, whereas Star Wars in the past has always been considered as episodes. Episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, with Roman numerals, of course. But now you're in the television era, and we're getting these installments as chapters. And where do you find chapters?
Serial form. They're delivering it out.
Yeah. So,
which is a different rhythm. It changes the way you present the mythologies, I think, because you can stumble a little bit, or it's just different than sitting down for 3 hours and watching it in one shot.
Yeah, it has more time to sink in and resonate with you. And what I like about the releases on a weekly basis, the traditional television rollout, as opposed to dropping entire seasons at once, you have the time to let it breathe between episodes too on its initial release. And I think that stuff is key.
Especially these days when the brain doesn't breathe very much. Everybody's looking at their phones so much. You need a little elbow room there.
I think it does something too to the Netflix conditioned audience where sometimes they don't know how to take it that way anymore.
Yeah.
As chapters.
Yeah.
They want it all at once. Just mainline the show,
everybody wants to be first to have seen it all and be the one to, get on social media with their hot takes. But no, I agree. And it's partially, I think, because of what we do here at RFR, which is to take these episode by episode or chapter by chapter and do an in-depth review of them and have, RFR listeners call in and all that. I like the time that we're able to spend with each episode. John. Yeah, go ahead.
I felt in watching it the first time around, because when I watch it the first time around, I choose not to judge at all. I have no mythological lenses on. I just want it to just wash over me. I want to get the popcorn. I want to enjoy it. And the second time, that's when I click on the logical circuits. And the first time, something bothered me that when I looked at the second time, I'm like, okay, I get that. And we'll talk about that today. But there was something about the way they shifted to Mando for an episode and a half, and I was like, wait, what is that? Yeah. And now I think I have a cogent view of what that meant in the greater mythological.
Well, I want to talk to you about that, because it's like, we interrupt this hero's journey to bring you this other hero's journey. So, with Book of Boba Fett, it seemed to be telling multiple stories. You had his emergence from the Sarlacc pit and his falling into the Tusken tribe. You had his rise as the crime lord. And, for some fans, for some people watching, it seemed like those two storylines shouldn't have been sort of laid on top of each other, that maybe they should have taken a more linear tact with that. What do you make of them laying those on top of each other, and how does that help paint this larger picture of, the mythology of this character? And is it, what do you make of that, the way they structured it?
It felt like Godfather too. You had flashbacks to the hardcore, how's the kid going to make it? He just saw his mother get shot with a shotgun in Sicily, and he gets on a boat, and he comes on, and those are the flashbacks of how hard he had it to make it happen for the tribe. Because the Mafia is a tribe, just like Boba Fett was referring to tribes, both with the Sand People and beyond. He reconstituted his own tribe. I'll get to that in a minute. But the second half of the movie in Godfather, or what was the present time bit, with from the flashbacks, was Michael Corleone rising up and figuring out how to help the family win a turf war that involved illicit goods being sold and who gets what, and which I call it was the technical superficial framework. It was the scaffolding. The easy superficial stuff that allowed all the stories to be told. I like the turf war part, and I like the flashbacks to how Boba Fett went from literally nothing, dead, in a vat of acid.
Left for dead.
How he was born from the sands. You see the way he came up and out of the sands? It was just like John Goodman in Raising Arizona when he broke out the prison and came out of the mud.
Oh, my God.
That's a great mythological beat. Andy was also born in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
When he came out of that sewage pipe and into the waters and had the bar of soap in the bag and looked up at the rains, and the rains baptized him and he was free.
That's good.
Now,
those are two good ones right there.
There were some Star Wars fans who looked at this and they thought that the Boba Fett that was portrayed in this series was so different and so detached from the Boba Fett of the original trilogy. But you're talking about a rebirth. And I feel like there are sort of two rebirths. And how would you categorize those? Because, yes, the emergence from the Sarlacc pit is one. But then there's also the hallucination that he has with the lizard up the nose and all of that.
In a structured visit to your show, that would have been the Sunday at the end of this. But let's get into that if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Or I can save it for the end.
No.
If you have a rhythm you want to go in here before we get to the snorting lizard spiritual journey, the vision quest, we can wait.
I think it comes better if I lay out a couple of other mythological premises for you. So leading off the title, the ambiguous, the Book of, the next thing to look at, if you want to take a big picture of this season, is what is the very first image of the first episode and the last image of the last episode. Or I'm sorry if I'm using the words wrong. Episodes are more
Yes,
movies.
chapters. We
Okay.
have to be specific here. Chapters.
It's not a hard and fast rule, but successful works follow this rule. And I've noted over the years that the Star Wars people, the Pixar people, the Disney people, they always follow this rule. It's never an accident. It's never a coincidence. The first frame, if you take the first frame and you look at the last frame and you can compare them, you say, where did the hero's journey begin and where did it end?
Ah, okay.
You know
I like
what
this.
mean?
I like this.
You're setting the nails in and then you draw the string across.
Mhm.
And so a funny thing happened. And at first I thought this must be a mistake.
Yeah.
Because the first image, of course, is in the Sarlacc pit. And you see you're basically in hell. I mean, this is a pit of hell, right?
Yeah.
Your audience doesn't need any description of where this guy's caught up in.
Yeah.
Now, what I thought, the last frame was going to show Boba Fett in his glory, having gone through all these trials and tribulations and come out on top. That's a win. And that's not what the last imaging is. That's a second to last scene. You see Boba Fett with his crew having a smile and a laugh and talking about how things are going to be. But the last moment of the last chapter is out in space with the Mandalorian and Grogu. And Grogu keeps tapping on the glass. Do it. Like, from the back seat on a road trip to dad.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right. And he pushes the button and they go zoom. And so at first I thought, what is going on here? And then I thought, oh, okay. They're consciously telling a story that isn't just about Boba Fett. And what they opened with was absolute lack of freedom in the pit of hell. The only thing that saved him was the suit. Otherwise, he would have started disintegrating in the acids. And the last moment was total freedom and joy. Little boy in the back going, do it, daddy. And he's got his new hot rod. I mean, it's literally built like a hot rod with the air filter, shaking at the top. It's like a 60s muscle car. And they went for a zoom, and that is freedom. And they had joy.
But, if I can.
Okay.
We're talking about two different characters here.
Which means the Book of Boba Fett on a mythological level, if this is the only season ever to come out, is not to the conscious people who did this show and know their stuff. Their blueprint, they did that on purpose.
To feature the Mandalorian.
They got the traditional image in the scene immediately before that playful little ad. And you can almost look at that add-on as though it was whatever, you have an introductory or prologue before a book, and then you have the afterword or something. Maybe it was an afterword, but I just found it interesting that they ended the season not on Boba Fett, who is the, ostensible hero.
The titular character.
Yes. The titular character.
Titular. I love that word.
So I don't think that was a mistake. Anyway, I thought it was about hell and heaven. Not necessarily about Boba Fett from that mythological dimension. And I don't think the people who run these kind of things at Star Wars, I don't know them, but I'm just talking about my experience. They don't mess with that opening image, closing image thing without knowing what they're doing. So I thought that was a real deal signal coming from the mythologists up there in Northern California.
So what if you break down, though, what we're left with from the character Boba Fett? The actual first image you see is a flashback to young Boba Fett when he was growing up on the planet Kamino, that rainy planet where he was growing up with the clones, and he's looking out the window as his father is leaving on another mission. And then the final scene we see featuring Boba Fett, he's walking through the streets of Mos Espa, and people are saluting him, and he is basking in the glory of cleaning up the city and hanging out with the people who support him. So he goes from being a little kid who only has the support of his father to being an adult who has won the support and respect of this city he is vowed to protect. That's where I see the boundaries of the mythological journey being presented. However, really, logically speaking, the story itself happens with Boba Fett coming out of the Sarlacc and then succeeding in the Mandalorian flying off into space with Baby Yoda. Yes, that is true. That's the story we're presented in the Book of Boba Fett. But these flashbacks to his youth.
Well, he always seems like he's running along the windows watching the ship take off, like, Dad, don't leave me.
Yes.
It has the abandonment feel,
Right.
which Luke Skywalker had. He was abandoned. Han Solo, where the hell are his parents? He's out there pickpocketing from that nasty little planet of his. I think I like what you just said, Jimmy, and I'm going to play off that. So here's a kid running along the window, seeing the ship go away. He's all alone. There he is down in the pit. He's all alone. Then he's tied to a stick and kids are hitting him with a cane. He's all alone. And then he starts building tribes. That's what his hero story is, building alliances. First with the Sand People, then with his crew, the master assassin who he saves, and she kind of is indebted to him.
Fennec Shand.
And then Mando, and then the kids from the moped gang.
Throw a couple of Gamorrean guards in there. I mean, now, John, I gotta ask you this, because this is something I think it fits really nicely in where the conversation is now, because as you are mentioning Boba as he collects or tracks, however you want to say, his crew, his posse, he does so in some cases, like with Black Chrysanthemum, with the Gamorreans, with this sort of altruistic forgiveness honor code, and that did discourage, I think, or certainly did divide, I think, some of the fans watching the show, saying, wait a minute, he's supposed to be this ruthless bounty hunter. It's his way or the highway, but yet we see him with these acts of forgiveness, justice, a complete.
He was that guy.
Yeah.
He was that guy. And his final face-off against that guy who looks like Clint Eastwood in the Grim Reaper,
Cad Bane.
That guy keeps saying to him, he's like, you were a killer. You were a killer. Like, he remembers him from that time too.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you.
You've gone soft, he says.
No, you walk through the desert and you deal with people that are ready to kill you at any moment. They're using you as a slave. You're living in the harshest conditions possible. You've been through everything imaginable. You start to earn their trust. You show you that you're a hero. You take out that train with the spice. You're like, there's a couple of big mythological stories. You're like, that is a key part of this guy's life. This is the transformation of his consciousness, was his time in the desert with the Sand People. It's a huge part of his mythological story. And it follows both the movie Gladiator from 2000, where Maximus, this unbelievable warrior, is all of a sudden a slave, and then he is transformed into a gladiator, and then he comes all the way back around at the end and has his comeuppance. And it's also a story reflected in one of the oldest books in the Bible, in Genesis. This is the story of Joseph, Technicolor coat fame. His brothers threw him in a pit, and he was going to die, and he was sold. He was in a pit, just like the Sarlacc pit, and then he was put into slavery, and he was taken to Egypt. And then all of a sudden, he started giving the Pharaoh advice, and the Pharaoh realized this is the smartest guy on earth, and he ended up running the whole thing when it was over. He's ultimately a politician, and that's what ultimately Boba is. All these alliances he learns. I mean, first he had to learn it because he had to learn it in the desert. It was a do or die thing. But that seasoning that happened to him in that tribe transformed him, transformed his consciousness, and everything he did going off for there. And he even said it in maybe episode 5 or 6 or so. Everyone needs a tribe. Everybody's more powerful with a tribe. Like, this was that was the effect of it. The time in the desert was the cause.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say, his dramatic arc over the 7 episodes, 7 chapters, just like you look at the first frame, just like you look at the last frame, you look dead smack in the middle and say, what happened here? Because that's telling about what the storytellers are trying to tell you. And that moment, 3.5 episodes in, he reclaims his ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gets the hell out of that cave.
Yeah.
And he's flying again. And now he's Boba Fett again. Though everything before that Oh my God, the pit, the slavery, the thirst. The first time I saw that episode, I had to pause it. I had to go get some water. I was so thirsty just watching the guy.
Any black melons in the fridge, did you?
And the combat training was right out of Karate Kid. You know, he even said, you could see if you watch if you watch it again and again, Boba Fett is holding his hand is a little low. That's the kind of stuff that drives masters nuts. And he kept on saying, no. It's just like Mr. Miyagi was saying, you know, when he was saying, you know, paint the fence. He's like, no, here. You got to go all the way. You got to do it right. And he went through that, and it broke him down like that.
A lot of fans, I believe, think that Boba's evolution happened in the Sarlacc pit. But you are saying, and I agree with you, that his evolution happened by becoming part of the Tusken tribe.
I think they're both evolutionary things. There's nothing like a near-death experience to shake you.
Okay, yeah.
Or
to
harden your metal. So I would say they're both transformative. And I would, if I got out of there, I'd be like, you know how some football players, they score a touchdown and then they do the dance at the end and they put the belt around like, yeah, I'm the world champ. Look at me. Like if I got out of that pit, I'd be doing that dance too. Like that could be transformative, that kind of confidence, that kind of get out, perseverance, grit kind of thing. But without a question, and I think I have the goods to back it as we go, as we already predicted. We're going to talk about that lizard and the nose thing in a minute. I think, yes, in this season, and no question, the showpiece mythological sequence is the leading up to and that moment of transformation in the desert.
And the flashbacks to him being young and seeing his father fly off.
Abandonment is one of the great mythological origin stories. You got nothing. Everybody ran away from you. You're in the pit. You're thirsty. Nobody loves you. Whatever it is, how do you get the hell out of that? That's a hero. I want to hear that story. And so it's a go-to story. It never gets old. It just is told differently. But Star Wars mythology is full of it.
So my question is, are we ready to snort that lizard up our nose?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can't wait any longer.
And Mike Tyson, we're going to lick a frog and snort a lizard here.
I don't get the Mike Tyson reference. What am I missing? I'm a big Mike Tyson fan.
There's a toad that secretes a sweat that has hallucinatory.
Right.
Properties.
I know about that.
They call it licking the toad. And
yes.
A couple of years ago, an author, a journalist, went and visited him at his he has a big camp, something going on in Nevada, where there's really no rules, and he's hoping to create a sanctuary for cannabis people to go visit and all that. But he licks the toad. He's licking this toad. That's like his go-to thing. It's like brushing his teeth and licking his toad. And it's an explosively hallucinogenic. And the journalist caught it in such a way that it became one of the most famous articles of the year.
Wow. Mike licks the toad. Okay. So the Boba snorts the lizard.
Yeah, there's a famous scene where Homer Simpson has a very hot pepper, too.
Oh, that's right.
And he's out on a golf course, but he's walking through sand traps and grass like he's in the middle of the Sahara Desert,
I don't think anybody within the Star Wars fan base has made the connection between Boba's vision quest and Homer Simpson eating the hottest pepper of all time.
It's the same area of the mythological playground. You're dancing over in the same area. You're just telling it two different ways.
Jason just put up a picture of Mike Tyson with a frog. And it's a really wacky looking photo that I don't think is
I think it's a Photoshop deal, but something tells me.
Yeah, those tattoos on his face look very fake. But yeah, Mike licks the toad. So yeah, there's all sort of traditions and actually like religious traditions surrounding things like that, very much like what we see in the Book of Boba Fett with the lizard up the nose.
Well, okay, so that's a big showpiece moment. Let's back up one step. When you're telling a hero story, superhero story, anti-hero story, the bigger the payoff at the end, when you walk out of that theater and you go, oh my, it feels like you got shot off a rocket.
Mm-hmm.
You want to put the hero through the ringer. Yeah.
Swank is now showing video of Homer Simpson eating the hottest pepper in the world that will make his pupils dilate and send him on his own vision quest.
Right.
If only it was that easy.
So good. So there's an ancient Chinese philosopher, Mencius, who said, when heaven wants to perfect a great man, it tries in every possible way until he comes out triumphantly from all painful experiences. And for me, my favorite movies, Die Hard, think about what that guy goes through. It's so beautifully sequenced. The movie's so great because it's so beautifully sequenced. All the difficulties. I think Boba Fett's difficulties were beautifully sequenced in the first half up until he caught the ship and reconstituted himself and went on to his tribe-making sequence was the second half of the season. And once you see that that is the balance in the season that the blueprint people at Star Wars set out, you're like, okay, I like their structure here. I like what they're doing. And part of that second set was also about a Russian nesting egg doll of, well, let's get Mando in, but okay, we can get Mando, but first Grogu, but then first Grogu's got to choose, and it had like a domino effect back and forth. It was beautiful, but the thing that sets it. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no! I don't want to just interrupt you, and then I'll go.
Well, I can be long-winded sometimes. No, you gotta get used to Jason doing that. Just plow through.
Okay,
plow through what you're doing. That's what I do every week.
So
just plow through.
So just with the Sand People tribe alone, he went through great ordeals and proved himself like a real classical Greek Roman hero. He went through trials and tribulations and earned the respect from the group, and he became a leader in the group. And then they brought him in. They initiated him. Now, all the great initiation rituals, especially the oldest ones known. Indigenous tribes north of the Arctic Circle, over in the Pacific, on the Pacific Rim where the fire burns, they all have these transformative conscious rituals where they bring you in. They often involve near-death experiences. And in this one, it's one of the great ones where the lizard is the gift that's given. At first, he's like, oh, thanks for the gift.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's his guide. That hallucinatory episode, he's in the desert, and then all of a sudden he's in a raging sea.
Yes.
Or what the planet used to look like.
Oh, I'm so glad you're bringing this up because there's imagery during his vision quest of waves splashing on shore.
And the Zen, there's a lot of understanding about what the psychology is of that right now. But basically, that symbology is indicating he's out of time now. We're not using the rational mind. Rational mind is on the bleachers. Now it's just watching. We're living out of the spirit now. And in the spirit space, there is no time. You're beyond eternity. And he was able to travel back. Now, how he actually showed up with an actual piece of driftwood. Like if I was in the middle of the Sahara and I said, hey, go get me some driftwood, good luck. I'd never see you again. But that's part of that vision quest thing. And it's such a cool mythological beat. Let me talk about a couple parts of it. First of all, you can get it from all kinds of ways. Sweat lodges, the Native American sweat lodges, where you basically had a little water, but basically we're in a tent that's running 130, 40 degrees for days. And you start hallucinating. You have a near-death experience. There are visions from those that are similar. Both north up in the Eskimo area and over in India, they take an initiate and they put you out in where there's no more civilization. You are literally out in the wild, and they give you just enough water to survive, maybe a cup of rice. They'll come back in a few days and leave another cup of rice. And whatever it is your job is supposed to be, either as a warrior or a drummer, you do that. You play your drums, you go out hunting, and you survive, and you live in a tent or an igloo barely big enough to cover you and your toes. And after days playing the drum changes voices, faces start appearing on the drum. All of a sudden your dad is telling you do this, don't do this, and you look up and it's somebody that you don't know with a long white beard. And later on, after 40 days fasting in the desert, you realize, oh, that was the great-great-grandfather. He was telling you something. Like there's great literature on these kind of what are basically transformative trips. I mean, you literally are tripping. And now people are taking the fast road, doing ayahuasca. You can enlist
ayahuasca.
You ever hear of this stuff?
No.
It's the hallucinatory stuff from South America.
Well, we don't need to be giving Rebel Force Radio listeners updates on the latest in hallucinogenics. But
you can achieve this transformation of consciousness even through enlisting in the army and going through boot camp. You
Sure.
can have certain things like this. And one of my favorite things about the wood, the way he uses the wood, in a lot of this literature, if a tree is struck by lightning, that tree is considered to have magical properties. They used it in the movie The Natural. That's where Roy Hobbs carves his bat out.
Whoa!
And so, in a way, Boba Fett showing up with that driftwood is very similar to the mythological space that they were playing in with Roy Hobbs.
That's amazing. What did Roy Hobbs name that bat? Thunder Boy or something like that?
Yeah, and it had a little lightning bolt carved.
Yes. Wow.
Same space.
What a great
same
connection.
Mythological space there.
What a great connection between Roy Hobbs' baseball bat and Boba Fett's gaffy stick. I mean, that's phenomenal.
So now the gaffy stick, or the raw means for the gaffy stick are brought back, and it's almost unbelievable. Like, I can't believe you got this moment, and he trains with it, and it becomes, you forget about it. After the first few episodes, he does it, he gets ritualized, and you forget about it, and it becomes the most important thing at the end. And I'll bring up that beat in a moment. But I want to also talk about the ritual where they dressed him in robes and then did the dance around the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, man, they just killed it. I mean, they just killed it from beginning to end, from the vision quest right on through the payoff there. And so the robes, that's the outer garments that reflect the inner change of consciousness. That's why Gandalf the Grey went to Gandalf the White. He went through a similar sort of, what are you going down to the pits of hell? I mean, I don't know if Rebel Force Radio gets into that, but he went through a great initiation experience himself there. And then the fire, I thought of the funniest connection in the mythological space. This is from a 1987 comedy called Can't Buy Me Love. It was with the young Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, yes.
Before he's McDreamy. He is the loser in school, hanging out with his loser friends, and all of a sudden he gets an in, and he exploits it and becomes one of the more popular kids at school for a few minutes. And on that advance upward, he takes a dance he saw on PBS called the African Antelope Dance, and he starts doing it at the school dance, and everybody at first thinks he's weird, but because he's all of a sudden the hot kid in school, before you know it, everybody starts doing the same dance. So it was him, then it was his girlfriend, and then it was two other people, and then all of a sudden the whole room was doing it. And if you look at it, it was the same sequence around the fireplace. First it's Boba dancing with one other sand person, and at the end it was just a beautiful dance, the whole tribe dancing together. Which, when you talk to Zen Buddhists, and they meet with other religious people from around the world, the Christians, the Jewish folk, all the scholars they meet, they all talk about their books and what their faith is and what their formulas are. And the Zen Buddhist guy just says, we don't have those books. We don't have those formulas. We don't have those faiths. We dance.
Let's dance.
And that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. And so this is just a wonderful tribe. And he went through a great transformation. It's as old and as beautiful and as archaic as we've been able to find in archaeological sites around the earth. They're doing it. And I thought it was a beautiful rendition of it.
Now, while their rituals and traditions may conjure up beauty and thoughts of tribal unity and connectiveness, at the very root of the Tusken Raiders is barbaric violence. Anakin Skywalker referred to them as animals. And most of the human people on the planet Tatooine live in fear of these Tusken Raiders, and occasionally will hunt them because of the damage they cause and the mayhem that ensues in their presence. And so, I mean, how do you find that soft spot for their spirituality when they're such a brutal type of people?
Well, rituals cover people who are both agriculturally based or warrior based. I mean, it does. Or beauty of a ritual doesn't have anything to do with what you do during the day. And one of the things I've noticed as an amateur Star Wars guy coming in from the outside and giving my 2 cents on the mythology, no matter what the movie, no matter what the show, I saw this really richly in the movie Solo. It's a tough galaxy out there. And I think the Sand People are just doing what they need to do to survive. It's a brutal world. And they're on the fairly primitive side. They don't have all the machines, as they say in the chapter. So they do what they do, and they've developed over the generations to do what they have to do to keep going, which in this season, they aren't going anymore.
And it appears that they are the indigenous people of Tatooine.
Yeah, I think they have the coolest costumes, the coolest man. I loved it. I loved it. But let me jump forward to the end of episode 7 when Boba Fett has his final face-off at the boss level with that Clint Eastwood.
Cad Bane. Cad Bane.
Okay, boy, he really gave me the chills. I thought they really nailed
wonderful.
it. I thought they really nailed it with him.
Cad Bane is a character that's known to Star Wars fans who watched the Clone Wars. Popular bad guy throughout the run of that series.
Let me ask you an epic question, both in the Star Wars sense, but also in your greater life sense.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do if you had just enough time to do one thing? If you knew you were about to die, what would you do?
I would be with my family.
Right. A lot of people confess secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Some people laugh. Some people cry.
Mm.
A lot of people aren't fully conscious at that moment. So the question implies, if you were conscious and had a choice, and facing annihilation is the hero moment. And not only did Boba Fett open with that in the pit, but he ended with that facing off in that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a beautiful, if you go back and watch that sequence over and over like I did, he's cornered. The evil guy is telling him, F you. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't even know if you.
It happens.
It was one of those moments, though, right?
For sure.
And the kill shot's coming, and Boba closes his eyes as if he wishes, like, how they have firing squads and people put blindfolds on, like, I don't want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment where you think he's acquiescing to his death. And then what does he do? He pulls out that stick and wins.
Yes.
So in a world where everybody's got machines and going beep, 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 beep,
mm-hmm.
He's an analog guy in a digital world.
Well, even more amazing is that this is a character who really lived off of the reputation of the weaponry on his armor.
That's a conscious transformation. If you want to check what somebody's got, watch what they do in the second before they die. This is the moment. This is the defining moment. And he does what Han Solo did in, remember when Han shot first?
When he shot Greedo.
Yeah. You kind of lean to the right, shoot, and hope that everything works out, right? So, like, that's exactly what Boba Fett did. He you see him, he rolls his head, pulls out a stick, takes out the guy's leg, and victory is his. Analog guy in a digital world. Go back to A New Hope. Death Star is coming into zone. It's about to blow it up. Luke Skywalker's making the final run. Darth gets knocked out because Han Solo comes in and says, hey, kid, go get him. He turned off his onboard computer. He's an analog guy in a digital world. And the story of a hero is the answer is not out there. It's inside you.
Do you know what this is right here?
An analog tape player.
That is a reel-to-reel deck. They don't even make reel-to-reel tape anymore, but I got one sitting here in my studio because I'm an analog guy living in a digital world. And I'm a sound guy, so that's why I lean on that. I love you giving tribute, paying tribute to the old school ways, John.
If you want to understand what Boba Fett is at the end of this season, from distinguishing it from the old school stuff, you look at what happens to him in the desert and look how he ends his final fight.
Great stuff.
And by the way, if I may add just one more thing, I mentioned this on a prior visit.
Yeah.
If you watch the Netflix blockbuster Queen's Gambit, Beth Harmon, the chess player, she's on amphetamines throughout the whole season, relying on the drug, and she looks up at the ceiling whenever she's playing chess, and she sees the chess moving around. She knows what pattern to do in front of her, and at the end, She puts the amphetamines down. She lets go of the technology that she was depending on. She found it inside, and then she beats the Russian. It was inside her. Same thing. Bob Marley, every major album, every song he put out had a reggae beat to it. The reggae was the machinery. When you listen to it, it kind of hypnotizes you. And on his last song, in his last visit to the recording studio, in the last encore to the last concert he ever played, he does Emancipate Yourself, redemption song, him and a guitar. It's the only song he plays without reggae backing him. Same thing. Shut the technology out. This one's coming from the spirit.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Luke. Hold on, let me make this a fish.
You've turned your onboard computers. Is everything all right?
Whoa, I just gave you my Jedi.
I like that.
I gave you a little special effect there that I didn't intend to. Luke. Hold on. Luke. John Marcoux is here with us. It's Force Spirits talking to you, Luke. Luke, turn off your Atari.
All right, I got to ask a question because we've been talking an awful lot about Boba Fett, obviously, because the show is the Book of Boba Fett. But if I may, I'm curious about Grogu and Grogu's choice. That was something that was set up in this season, and I was surprised to get resolution so quickly, but we did. I mean, we didn't have to wait very long at all. We had to wait for the next episode. If we want to look at mythological blueprints for characters, I think some of us felt like that the blueprint for Grogu is over because he rejected his Jedi path. And when we think about, hero's journey, all of that, and when you're imbued with the Force, you're waving your hand. You're saying, no, it's not over. So help.
Luke left his training early too.
Yes.
Came back to help fight and then went back and completed his training. The door is not closed forever.
This is true.
The attachment to Mando will be a problem according to the wisdom
lore
of the Jedi. Yeah, no, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, and plus he's Yoda, a Yoda species, so he's got like 900 years, so he's got time.
Yes, he's a kid. He's a baby.
Right.
He's a baby.
Right.
I mean, he pulls a magic move. He raises his hand and he's got to take a nap. Like
you got to take a nap.
It's tough. So one of my favorite beats, and I didn't necessarily feel like this was one of the big ones that I wanted to share that I was preparing for tonight's discussion. But one of the things I was so pleased, and anybody who's ever read Lone Wolf and Cub, they saw that scene, that choice. So in the very first Lone Wolf and Cub ever,
he's got the comic.
It's just a few pages in, and I think I sent you an image before, Jason, to put it up.
I got it right here.
There's the greatest samurai in the land giving his fairly newborn son a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother has been wrongfully killed so that they could shame my name and make me commit harikari so that they can take my prestigious position over. I'm deciding to leave the Bushido code behind and just go on a pure frenzy of revenge to clear my family's name before I am dead. Son, would you like to join me? You just learned how to crawl. You don't even know what the words I'm saying, so I'm going to give you a choice. And he puts a playful, colorful ball to the left and a dagger to the right. And he goes, if you choose the ball, I'll send you to your mom, and then I'll meet you later. I got some business to take care of. I got some people to take out. But if you choose the knife, well, then I'm going to strap you to my shoulder, and you're going to come with me. And that's the beginning of the whole series. It's a wonderfully dramatic choice. And when I saw Luke give choice to Grogu, I leaned back on the couch and said, it's Miller time. This is my happiest moment.
Lone Wolf and Cub.
Lone Wolf and Cub?
Yeah. Well, Dave Filoni is the guy who directed and wrote that episode. And he has professed his love of Lone Wolf and Cub many times over the years to us in conversation. And it's very obvious what he was inspired by when he was forging this story.
And when you present a choice to someone who doesn't have rational capacity yet, they're at the place where Boba Fett was when he was hallucinating on his vision quest. They're already there. Young children are there, and people close to death are there. Zen is always trying to get to that moment of death. Samurai are always like, I'm going to die any second. What do I do? And that makes them react like lightning and be the amazing warriors they were. So a warrior was addressing his child and saying, you don't understand what I'm saying. This question is from the spirit. What do you choose? So intense. So
excellent.
Filoni did a great job.
Excellent.
Kudos.
Excellent. And you enjoyed the episode?
Oh my gosh. Everything else, I don't even know what else happened.
I think most Star Wars fans can relate with you on as far as that goes. Any other big observations or revelations you want to lay on us before we wrap up the show? Have we cleared the gamut of all things John Marcoux as far as how about just you as a fan? Give us you can be critical about it too if you'd like to be of the season of Boba Fett.
Okay, thank you. I will take that opportunity.
Yeah. Okay.
As I said at the earlier, the first time I see a season, I just watch it. I don't care. There's no judgment. I just want to like it or not like it on a very visceral, intuitive level.
Yes.
And then I go back and do the analysis. But on my first watch, I did say, "Whoa! Why did Mando just take over for a chapter and a half before we got back to that story?" I'm going to have to go back and look at that. And very rarely do I put a sticky note in my mind on that first watching. So I found that a touch jarring when I first saw it. And then I had to go back and break down, and I said, okay, that's an interesting way of doing it. They weren't saying, let's sweep along the masses along the old formula and stuff. It's a light criticism, but anytime you're reading something or watching something and you go, whoa, what was that? I don't know. It just takes the popcorn effect away.
A little bit of the rhythm was jarring.
A little bit of it was jarring for me.
Yeah.
But
They're going to have to call him Din Jarring.
Very good, Jason.
Now on.
Very good.
I did like that they cast the guy with a dad bod. I think that's going to help out that whole situation right there.
That whole situation.
You know,
cosplayers everywhere over the age of 55 rejoiced.
55, 45.
Well, I guess. Tim Morrison he was 59, when he shot.
Oh wow.
So,
He reminded me about 120 so years ago when Coney Island was the big place in Brooklyn. They used to have strong men who wore swimsuits that were like full body stripes, and they had those mustaches here, and they had like the strong weights, and they were built the way he was built on this show. They had that. Like I didn't think it for a minute he was fat. He's the kind of guy you punch, it would actually your fist would go back and punch you.
He's thick.
He's thick.
Thick. That's right.
Thickness to him. Yeah. There's nothing.
He's an island boy.
Nothing. Yeah, Tim Morrison isn't pudgy. He's not soft. He trained actually quite hard to get into this role as Boba Fett.
I found his body type fitting for the role. He seemed like a tough guy. He seemed like a tough guy.
Yeah.
I also found the submerging in water to heal an interesting mythological point. When I teach a style of meditation where one tries to enter layer by layer, go down to the sleep state while you're still awake. It's actually an ancient goal of yoga. And what he was doing was going, and a lot of the imagery is almost, so you close your eyes, you get totally comfy, you totally relax, you have no sensory perception at all except what you're hearing and your breath.
Yeah.
And it's often compared to being one of those guys with one of the bells on his head that used to go underwater with a tube of oxygen into it. That's the kind of meditation I teach. And he was kind of doing that and dreaming. And I thought, that was an interesting touch.
When he was submerging himself in that Bacta tank, that was to heal him. That's the technology, the medical technology of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, but they also say sleep is healing. People who don't get enough sleep are actually having mental hygiene problems. And so there is a recuperation thing that needs to happen.
Well, John, we're gonna let you go, regrettably, because there's so much more that we could talk about. I think we got through most of what you wanted to say, but this is great. No, I mean, we joke, but we do get a lot of comments, very, very positive when you're here. People dig these episodes, man. We've got, our listeners, they want to really get into the weeds of this stuff, and you provide that in spades, always. So if you enjoyed this week's show, check out, go to rebelforceradio.com and search, it's John Marcoux, Marcous. And if you search in the website, you'll see the different shows that he was on. Did the mythological blueprint of Solo, Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker, Mando, Clone Wars, specifically looking at the Mortis arc, that trilogy. So there's lots more John Marcoux in our archives and more John Marcoux to come, I'm sure, here on Rebel Force Radio. So, man, this has been a pleasure, as always.
My joy, always.
We got Kenobi coming up. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Yeah, you might need to do that in real time with us, John.
Yeah,
I mean, that's going to be deep, dude. That's going to be deep.
I'm going to enjoy that.
We hope.
That.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah.
So we'll check in with you after that series wraps up and hear what you have to think about it. As far as the mythological blueprint goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan
very
Kenobi.
nice.
Well,
thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Hey, one more.
Yes.
One more.
Yeah, dinner guest press for sure for the Bob Marley book, Illustrated, Emancipate Yourself by John Marcoux. And illustrated by who's your illustrator? I don't know.
Aaron Block.
Aaron, of course.
Listen, this book weighs 2 pounds. It's heavy. Drop it on your head. Drop it on your mind, not on your toe. If you drop on your big toe, it'll hurt.
Yeah, man. So it's a great book. A really interesting and genuine look at Bob Marley and his career. It's just
our goal was to put together a book that makes the reader feel as good as a Bob Marley song on a summer afternoon makes you feel.
I read.
That's it.
I love it.
That's it.
It's a great book. It's a lot of fun. I've read it multiple times, and I am, of course, a big Bob Marley fan. I'm a big John Marcoux fan.
Hey.
And it is fun to look for the Star Wars Easter eggs buried within. So
there are subtle ones that some people have not found yet. I'm still waiting. It might be one of those like, those Fermat's theorem where he wrote in the side column, I have a very elegant proof for this. And then for 300 years, we've been trying to figure out what that proof is.
I'm not familiar with this riddle, but I'm sure many of the scholars and academically focused minds listening to the show know what you're talking about.
Easter eggs for the next generation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man. John Marcoux, thank you to the Jedi Yogi.
Gentlemen, it was a blast.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it very much. All right, so we need to check in with Michael. Michael Havens is the guy behind the mastermind behind ICCC which we're going to be attending at the end of April 29th through May 1st. So I hear he's got a big announcement. So
yes, another huge guest announcement coming from Michael Havens. What can we expect at the end of next month in Nashville? I can't wait to find out. So let's bring Michael on to Rebel Force Radio.
What's up, fellas?
How you doing?
Great, man. No complaints.
All right, we're down to the wire. I mean, it's only 50 some days away, according to the website.
Days away. Yeah, that's
57 days. Are you nervous yet? How are the
tracking me? To be honest, man, I'm excited. It's not the worry part now. It's the make sure everything goes right, and it's more like I would equate it to a racer, even though I don't race. But I would equate it to a racer, looking at the finish line, and that gives you the energy to make it through. So that's really what I'm going for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the devil's in the details, especially with events like this. We got a million different things happening at once. You got to coordinate it all, but you're a logistics guy, as we know.
That's what you do. What I do in real life. Yep. That's it for sure.
You're made
pulling
for
up
this.
The list. Oh, no. Hey guys, you gave me so much grief last time that I wore no branding this time. What do you think?
Oh no,
well, we didn't want to do that.
You miss
no
it?
brand. Yeah, we do.
Come on.
You know what?
Like
This hat's really. Hold on. This hat's super itchy, man. Hold on.
Yeah. Fix that. There you go.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Superman. Superman has his S once
super
again.
hot in Tennessee, boys. So
There we go. He's got the shirt.
It's like a strip tease.
There we go.
It's hot up here, boys.
He's losing the clothes, and as he does, the branding becomes
going for it. Well, why not?
ever more clear.
There you go.
And the
All
flag.
right. Hey, now we're back.
He's got
at
the
it.
flag
How's everybody
behind him
doing
now.
today?
See,
There
now
we
this
go.
is
Right?
now this is Michael. This is the Michael we know and love.
God, I swear, there's nothing more Nashville than I could be doing than looking at you right now, and I'm practically tasting the hot chicken burn my throat.
Oh, it'll burn.
You look
everything
great.
if you give it time.
That looks
right.
good.
Yeah, give it about 8 hours. Goes in hot, comes out hot.
Yeah, right. It's hot all the way through.
Yeah.
But
it is that good that you know what you're getting into, and you're like, "Wow, all right, tonight, I got nothing to do tomorrow morning. Let's roll the dice."
All right, well, let's talk about the country and the world seems to be opening up. Full speed
Everywhere's
ahead. So that's got to be a great sign for a guy like you putting together a show like this. Are you seeing, as different states and different cities and municipalities start to, open up? Are you seeing the ticket sales increase and seeing the momentum?
Yeah, for sure. Tickets, hotels, everything have been increasing really, really fast. Every single day, it's buzzing off the hook that somebody's buying a ticket, somebody's buying this, somebody's buying that. And that's really good. See, the thing is, man, is the pandemic, we were the con that was able to do it in the pandemic. Everybody else quit, and we figured out a way to continue because all we do is keep moving forward. That's just what we do. So this year, it's all going away. So this year, we're so excited because we actually get to smile at each other, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So, I'm fired up, man. We're not going to have a mask mandate. As of right now, there are none. Mm-hmm. There are no social distancing. So you can give a stormtrooper a hug now again, which is nice. And I'm just excited to be coming out of it, man. And I'm glad we didn't quit while it was going on,
I'm glad you didn't quit too.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
As you point out, if you can do it with all those restrictions, imagine what, this show is going to be like.
Oh yeah,
unleashed, right? With no restrictions,
brother.
It's going to be great.
No, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. You guys excited? It's going to be beautiful at that time. Too.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Totally.
I've got some of my family coming out with me. We're really looking forward to it, and so it'll be our first time out since March of 2020. That's for sure. First time I've seen Jimmy Mack. I'll have seen Jimmy Mack in person since March 2020. So I think that's the longest stretch we've ever. You know it. I think that's the longest stretch that we've ever gone since we started doing this show together.
Yeah. It'll be fun back at the hotel. Those aren't pillows. But we're looking forward to it.
Love it.
And we're looking forward. We're bringing an audience of Rebel Force Radio listeners with us. We're looking forward to hitting that podcast stage and just having a blast, man. It's going to be a great time. It is going to be great to get out finally.
I'm excited, man.
Got Anthony Daniels.
Yeah.
He's going to be there.
Great. We also got Ian McDiarmid. That's huge. And who else we got? We got Guy Gilchrist.
Not really Star Warsy Muppet Babies.
You know what though? I consider Muppet Babies Star Warsy.
There was a definite Star Wars crossover episode, wasn't there?
There absolutely was.
Darth Vader or something.
Yeah. There was one that was pretty much, all Star Wars. They reenacted Star Wars, and then. Right. Yeah. Muppet Babies used a lot of clips from movies of the 70s and 80s, and so those clips were scattered, throughout. They were like doing video drops, radio shows and stuff do drops. They would do video drops. They would say something and they would do these cuts. But so that's cool. And who else we got? Timothy Zahn, You know, the sort of the father of the Star Wars Renaissance of the 90s in book form.
Well, he's really the one that kept it alive for all us true nerds when there was nothing else.
Oh, did he ever? Yes. Yeah. Did he ever? So, and Jim Lawson. Oh, now a Ninja Turtles guy. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much anybody involving toys because it's a real big vintage toy convention as well. We're going to even have next week, I'm going to release 5 employees that are all sculptors or people who designed the toys from way back in the day. Like, well, those will come out next week. They are my guest stars for next week. But we like to do panels and stuff like that. We even have an original sculptor of Kenner figures, of numerous Kenner figures, who is going to come and live sculpt an action figure on our stage. Oh, so yeah, man, it's a definite collector's con, you know.
Well, it's all in the name. It's all in the name. And speaking of names, I have heard that you've got a new name to drop on us tonight.
I do have a new name. I do. But we have I've dropped a few since last time I came on, man. I have Trevor Butterfield who's coming, who was he was a stormtrooper, Imperial officer, Empire Strikes Back, stuff like that. He also even worked farther into his career. He did like Harry Potter, you know, the motorcycle for Hagrid. Like he's a special effects guy that made that and stuff like that. Julian Glover, you all guys know Julian Glover. He's awesome. He's been just about everybody, including General Veers and including the guy who chose As Wrong as You Could.
Yeah, right. From the Indiana Jones film.
Yeah. He picked the Grail.
He's rare in the fact that he crosses over with so many different franchises, from Star Wars to Indiana Jones to the James Bond and the Harry Potter.
Even Game of Thrones now. Yeah, he did Game of Thrones recently. And he's even Harry Potter too. He was the Spider's voice.
Yeah.
Oh, but, he was Aragog's voice. That's cool.
Yeah, he's Aragog's voice. Yeah.
That's very cool. I had no idea. Yeah, my gosh, is he a franchise crossover? Big time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's done just about everything. Matt Lantner. You guys know Matt Lantner, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Matt Lantner.
He's Anakin from the Clone Wars.
Yes, good friend
whole bunch
of
of other
ours.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. He was even in the Mandalorian there as a rebel trooper. Remember that?
He was.
Yep.
He was indeed.
Which was really cool. I like the actors that are like, they love Star Wars and they'll be a rebel trooper in a random Mandalorian episode just so they could be there. I like that stuff. Yeah.
Matt's game for that thing. That kind of thing.
And then for Star Wars, who else? Did I announce James Arnold Taylor here?
You didn't. No.
James Arnold Taylor is coming, man. Obi-Wan, Plo Koon, just about every voice in the galaxy. He's also going to do his one-man show, which he doesn't do anymore. And James actually doesn't do conventions anymore. We just became really, really close friends, and I talked him into it.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
I've never seen his one-man show. After all these years we've known him, and he actually sent me and Jason the first video he ever shot of his one-man show. He was performing it in a hotel room just by himself in front of a camera as he was banging the whole thing out, and he sent the video to me and Jason to give it a look and tell him what we thought of it. And naturally, the only words that came to our mind were like words like genius and amazing, and you got to tour with this. And that was years ago. So I imagine his stage show has become much more refined since then.
Yeah, it's great. He did it at ICC Con 2019 for us, but then he didn't do it in 21. And but he is going to come back and he is going to do it at this one. So people haven't really seen it since that ICCC. And before that, it was a couple years before that, the last time he did it. He doesn't really do it much. So if you are anywhere near the venue at the time that he is going to be on stage, do whatever you have to do, drop whatever you're doing, go watch it. You guys saw it. It's game changing. It's an experience for sure.
You know, I'm an idiot. I take it back. I have seen him do that stage show before in front of an audience. I saw him do it at Star Wars weekends in Orlando.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a cool one because they had that
one that hasn't seen it. I saw the video he sent to us, and there have been a few clips that he's released on his social media, but I've not seen the show in its entirety.
Well, that's the best part. You know, my favorite way to watch Star Wars is watching it with somebody who hasn't seen it before. So that's a perfect way to watch this. You know, you get to see it with fresh eyes, and we get to look at you. Everything, something super funny is right about to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's your reaction going to be, man? You know?
And if they don't react the way you want, then they're dead to you. Right?
Yeah,
I don't know you
right?
apparently as well as I thought I knew you.
You're not cool. You're a poser.
If you don't turn to your side when Yoda is pulling that X-Wing out of the swamp in Empire Strikes Back and that other person isn't tearing up, just get rid of them. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
That's a great test for friends and and significant others as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the reason why I'm here, guys, and you know this, but the reason why I'm here is a big announcement. This is going to be the last major guest star announcement before the show because it's time to make up maps and schedules and panels and so on and so forth. So our last major guest star for the show is going to round out. I just released Anna Graves, Duchess Satine, by the way.
Oh, Anna's going to be there. Wow.
Yeah. So
excellent.
I'm trying to really Clone Wars it up. You know, we got
it'll be like old home week for us. It's going to be great.
Yeah, man. Well, we got the Master, the Apprentice, you know, we got the Master that shouldn't have a girlfriend's girlfriend, you know, it's nice. But we got all those, but no, the big announcement, man, and this is the one I've been saving because I've been so excited, and I've been trying to get this person since 2018. I've been directly in contact since then, and it just hasn't worked out, scheduling conflicts, this, that, and the other. But finally, the Eagle has landed, and I got Ashley Eckstein will be coming up to ICCC in Tennessee.
Right.
So that's a massive one. So we will have Master, Apprentice, and Master's girlfriend that he shouldn't have. How cool is that?
Master, apprentice.
That's beyond love triangle. That's I don't know what that is. Love hypotenuse or something, whatever.
Something.
Yeah, that's
I was never good at geometry, man. I don't know. I end at square.
That's great, and congratulations to you, Michael. I mean, what a roster!
Thanks,
this is amazing for an independent show to have the caliber of guests that you have, and I can certainly vouch for most of them, that they're all really awesome people, especially that Clone Wars cast. You can't find a nicer group of people that really legit enjoy each other, enjoy being with Star Wars fans, and it's reciprocated. Fans just love these folks.
I did hear that these three have never taken a photo op together for professional photo ops that people can buy.
Really?
So, yeah, that's what Ashley's agent told me. So he was like, man, you're going to have so many people there. He's like, you got a good photo op company? I do. I have International Convention Memories. They're a smaller company, but they did a great job for us last year. So I'm really excited, man. We're going to be offering 3-packs, 4-packs of photo ops so you can get them with everybody. Also, unlike most conventions, if you're there with your friend or your significant other or your child,
lover,
both allowed to, your lover, you two guys holding hands, but you're allowed to just go in with the photo op. I mean, if one person buys one and you want to put 2 or 3 people in it, that's okay too. We're not going to charge you for every person. That's just dirty.
They don't let Swank and I do photo ops anymore since the Billy D. Williams debacle of Star Wars.
Tell me the story. Let's hear it.
Well, I think Jimmy should tell it because he's really responsible for it.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is, I'll tell it real quickly. We were really pumped up to see Billy D, and we had our buddy Puppet Lando with us. I don't know if you're familiar with Puppet Lando, but we wanted Puppet Lando to be in the photo with Lando. And that was the whole purpose of the photo op. So we went roaring into the autograph hall, ready to go. They sent us to the wrong actor at first. They sent us to General Maydeen or somebody. I can't remember who they sent us to, but we finally found Billy D. Williams. And he was sitting there, and we came in there, and it was like the Three Stooges had just hit the golf course and were destroying the place. And we were yelling and screaming, and I was trying to direct where the puppet was supposed to be.
Yeah, Jimmy had a
photo.
particular vision for this photo.
Yeah.
And that vision wasn't communicated to us until we got in there with Billy D.
Right. I wanted the puppet in the middle.
Right.
So I kept saying, get the puppet in the middle, get the puppet in the middle. And then Billy D, I'm behind him, and he just suddenly goes, get off me, man. And he holds his hands up. He goes, cool it. And we all just stood still, smiled for the photo, and walked out of there.
There it is.
There's the picture.
Hey,
there's the picture. Look at those fresh faces.
You'd never know. Anything went wrong. Just smile.
Yeah. See, that's perfect, man. That's the best part of a photo op. It's only for a half a second.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Wow. Well, we promised, Michael, none of that kind of tomfoolery will be happening at.
Well, we can't promise that, Jason. What are you doing?
I can promise that.
If you're not aware, we're recording this, okay? This may go out. Many ears will hear this. I do not want to be on the hook for, like, pledging responsibility to Michael Havens in any public forum. So
I think it'd be implied by this point.
Contract.
Yeah, just keep us away from the things that are fragile.
I'm going to Florida, and you guys are walking around with garbage bags and cleaning up the venue. You didn't know? It's in your contract. You should check it.
Oh, yeah, the community service thing. Yeah. We've done enough community service, believe me.
Real fine print.
More than our share.
Well, the show is April 29th through May 1st. You can get your tickets at iccollectorsconvention.com. Better yet, go ahead and use our promo code, which you'll hear at the end of the program, and you can save some money off of your tickets because we're excited to be there in Nashville, Tennessee with Michael, his whole team, and big stars. You heard it here first. Ashley Eckstein joining the roster along with Anthony Daniels and Ian McDiarmid and Matt Lanter and James Arnold Taylor. Michael Quinn, I saw him on there too. Michael Quinn, also a friend of ours here at Rebel Force Radio. Great guy. So just so many Star Wars. And if, like you were saying earlier, Michael, if you're a big fan of the action figures and the collectors, collectibles associated with Star Wars, this is really the show for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the wonderful thing about it is whether you're the autograph hunter or you're the toy hunter, it's the perfect show for both of you because even a lot of the VIP tickets, I'd say half to 60% are purchased by people who couldn't care less that there's any guest stars in the building. They are there to get the toys first. So the VIP gets a lot less stress on it than most cons because so many people are there for the toys, not for the movie stars. So there's a lot less people looking for the movie stars. There's a lot more people looking at the toys. And that way it makes it even relieves that pressure. Because usually you go to most conventions and it's like 40 tables of all the same new pops for pretty much all the same prices and some other random tables, but usually not stuff where you see some of these vintage tables, you guys will see them, and you could stand there for an hour and just look through bins or look through things and
I intend to.
And all these. Yeah, but that's what allows it to make it feel more spacious and more relaxed than it really is. It's just because there are so many things to do where you can really go down that rat hole of, oh, wow, look at all these R2-D2s. Let me go through each one and find a Taiwan variant with a dark blue dome with the dimple top. You know what I mean? So
there's said that's
a real thing.
Like that's a real thing.
It really is.
Or a song lyric.
Right.
If you see a vintage R2, the original one with the little dent in his dome, it's harder to find.
Wow.
Harder to find.
Now, Michael, where can we go for, or will when will the panel start being released? The information about those so people can start planning their days.
The panels and all that stuff, they're usually about 3 weeks before. The badges come out usually about 2 weeks before. We start shipping 2 weeks before. So if you already bought your tickets, that's totally cool. Don't worry about it. The reason why is we send out these plastic collectible badges. So if we send them out too early, people knock them off, to be honest. So we have to wait till right at the end, but you'll get those. As far as to plan, there'll be plenty of schedules up. There'll be paper schedules as well as hopefully an app, as long as we can push it through Apple. If you have a Android phone, you'll be perfectly fine like they are every year because it just works like that. But for some reason, Apple's been our curse to get it through. But hopefully this year, worst case scenario, you will have paper sheets and also you will have the website that you can access through Google or whatever. And that'll have all the schedules, everything. And it'll be plenty of time for you to still plan everything and know what you're going to do. There'll be plenty ahead of time. That's why we finish up the guest stars right now-ish. And that way we can finish building the maps, get those out, and get the vendor table situated where they got to go. And then we already have all the panels and stuff sent over to David Longwater, who's our MC on site. He's been the MC at ICCC for years. David Longwater, great guy, really, really knowledgeable with Star Wars, stuff like that. Vintage B-Wing collector. And oh yeah, no, we all collect some sort of vintage something. That's why we're there. But
I only go for B-Wings.
yeah, exactly. But he's already got all the people, and he's already formulating the schedule. So the schedule is we already have temporary schedules and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the way it works is depending on people's flights and when they arrive and what day they want to do it. Some people would rather do their panel on Sunday. Some people would rather do their panel on Saturday. Once we get all those in place, then we'll be good to go. So, but those are getting scheduled. All the video game tournaments are getting scheduled. All these things you'll have plenty before the show. Dungeons and Dragons tournaments, cosplay, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer. We got a tattoo pavilion. If you want to come get a tattoo, you get a tattoo of Puppet Lando right in the middle.
Oh man,
no, that's an idea. Oh my God, that's an idea. First person who does that, I'll give him a Rebel Force Radio mug.
I was going to say there might be a cash prize. I might have to put up some cash if somebody walks away with a Puppet Lando tattoo. That might be worth $100. That's awesome.
That's hilarious,
Michael. You're great.
We'll cover the cost of the tattoo. How about that?
Oh, there you go. God, that
well, actually, here I'll show you. Mine's not
that will
finished,
be more than 100.
But these are the guys that are coming. But it's not done yet.
Oh, there's Boba Fett. He has a tattoo on his left arm, on his shoulder. Boba Fett emerging from the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
It's got a whole
look at
sandcrawler.
In the
sandcrawler back there and everything.
Whoa!
But this one's not finished. I'm in the middle of it. But these guys are some of the best tattoo artists in the world, and they go around to some of the biggest tattooing conventions in the world. So they're top shelf if you're looking for. Because I don't want anybody to go in and get a stick figure drawn on them. You know what I mean? So all these tattoo artists are top shelf, and they're only people I would use myself.
I can't hear what Swank's choice is going to be. I'm excited to hear his design.
Sorry,
maybe a Puppet Lando on your whole back, Swank.
Yeah, I think the stick figure is about more my speed. I mean, at least in terms of what my stamina will support.
The threshold doesn't go beyond that.
No, for sure. Michael, you are a legend, man. This is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait.
Ashley Eckstein, amazing. I mean, you won't find a convention guest more popular than Ashley. So congratulations on that. I'm glad it all worked out. And I can't wait to see our buddy Ashley again.
Yeah,
that's great news.
I'm very excited.
Ashley,
I met her once at a celebration, and it was she's such a sweetheart, man.
She really is.
Ever since then, we were trying to connect for the show, and she always had something else because she's always so busy. But so finally we got her. So I'm super psyched, man. I really am.
I am too. Great. I am too. All right. Well, make sure that you get your tickets. ICCollectorsCon.com. That's the or Collectors Convention .com is the website.
You can there's an easy one, man. ICNashville.com.
Oh, IC Nashville. IC, not simple. IC.
IC.
Letter C, Nashville.com. Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
All right. Commissary Nashville.com.
Michael, well, hopefully I know there won't be more reveals as far as guests, but certainly as the details continue to come together, we'd love to have you back, again before we fly out to Nashville and see.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'd love to be back on. You know what? If we get it close enough, man, I should have a lot of the swag and merch and stuff like that already printed out in here. And I could show off some of that.
Oh, that'd be great.
People love it, and it's some of the best in the world. Yeah, I spare no expense.
You know that Jimmy Mack is a swag hag, right?
Are you?
A little bit.
Oh,
I am a little bit. Yes.
Wait till you see him.
Go a little bit. A little bit.
I got numbered sabers. I have a whole bunch of different patches. I got pop sockets. I got pins. And the other thing is the people that come to this convention, they make cool swag too. Yeah, so I've seen some of the patches they've made, and they're awesome, dude. You guys should have bring patches. You're gonna need patches to trade.
Well, yeah, we better figure that out.
Yeah, we better. We only have less than 2 months.
Yeah.
So very good
Yeah,
on that.
We'll be bringing some stuff. We'll be bringing this.
That just take 3 weeks. You'll be all right.
Great. Well, we're going to have a blast, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thanks, boys. Hey, I really appreciate you guys always talking about the con. I see those Rebel Force Radio coupon codes coming in, so I really appreciate that. And thanks a lot for always being cool, and thanks for bringing me on. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to actually meet you guys in person, because I think we're going to make a lot of trouble. But good thing Nashville's a lenient city.
Oh, yeah. Some tells me the three of us together can cause a lot of damage and destruction, let me just say. Especially after hours, my friend.
We'll just blame it on Puppet Lando, man. We'll be fine.
Right. He did it.
Yeah. We need somebody to blame. But you know what? We want everyone to join us. The show is ICC Con. Use code RebelForce10 at checkout, and you'll save 10% off your order.
That's the one.
So do that, and then that way Michael will know that there's going to be a whole wave of RFR fans coming to the show. So that's going to be great.
I really appreciate you guys. And I do hear about it all the time. People are like, oh, I heard you on Rebel Force Radio. And I'm like, yeah, man, like 1 billion people listen to that. That's cool. Thank you. No, but I really appreciate it, guys. You've gotten my voice so much farther than when it ever got it on its own. So I do appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Anytime. All right. Take care, bud. And we will
have
see
a great
you
night.
soon.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Michael Havens.
Hey there, this is Ashley Eckstein, and this is Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force.
Chewie, get us out of here!
Oh, that's going to just wrap things up here for this week. Huge thanks to John Marcoux for hanging out with us. Also, big thanks to Michael Havens. Please don't forget about ICCC Con. I think I threw an extra C in there. ICCollectorsConvention.com. That's the website. Check it out. April 29th through May 1st. We're going to be there. You should be too. So,
live RFR podcast.
Yes. Oh boy. I forgot how to do those. It's been a long time. Make sure that you're checking us out over on Patreon. Here's what you do. Go to the Rebel Force Radio website, right? Go to the Rebel Force Radio website, and you want to click on that Patreon banner. Click on the Patreon banner. I think. There you go. And then you end up over at Patreon. And you can choose various levels of membership, but it's a really, really great opportunity for you to not only support the show, but also hang out with some of the best Star Wars fans in the galaxy. Plus, you're going to get all kinds of benefits like exclusive podcasts that you can't get any other way. Things like RFR Q&A, now weekly. It's a weekly podcast. Can you believe it? You're not going to get it on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or anything like that. No. Only on Patreon, Rebel Force Radio. Also, the Babu Freaks, Clone Wars Declassified Remastered, Filoni Files, all that just for you for being a supporter of the show over on Patreon. And you can also jump to the head of the queue when we're doing those live shows like the after shows or maybe IC Collectors Convention. So when you call in, or you're hanging out with us at one of these live shows, you can jump to the head of the line if you're a Patreon member. And as I say, it's one of the best communities of Star Wars fans in the galaxy. Details at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Another way you can get more Rebel Force Radio in your life is through our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. And there's just so much there. I mean, we've been doing this podcasting thing for a very, very long time, and there is a ton of content. New stuff like our after shows, Book of Boba Fett after show, Mandalorian after show, plus our podcasts are all there. So they get released kind of, premiere style each and every week. You can get the audio of the podcast, plus just a whole archive of, classic bits on the podcast, great interviews over the years with, in some cases, some Star Wars notables that have unfortunately left us. And so one of the few places you can hear from them is on our archived interviews. So that's all at YouTube on the Rebel Force Radio channel. Just subscribe, like, all that good stuff. If you'd like to talk to us in between shows, You can send us an email, show@rebelforceradio.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. That voicemail line is always open at 708-320-1737. That's 708-320-1RFR. We're on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That Twitter handle is RFR Rebel Force. RFR Rebel Force. Everywhere else, it's just Rebel Force Radio. But the most important thing that you can do, if you'd like to support us here, is please tell that Star Wars fan in your life that hasn't heard of Rebel Force Radio about us and have them subscribe. You can do so on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Samsung, anywhere you can find podcasts or great Star Wars websites like the guys over at Jedi News. You can find us here at Rebel Force Radio. And sometimes those podcatchers let you leave a review. We love to have those reviews. Just one rule, please.
Make them good.
And that'll do it for us. We'll see you next time here on Rebel Force Radio. Thanks to everybody for joining us this week. For Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
Rebel Force Radio.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh, like baby, baby, baby.